Hey Demon Brides, how you doing? We are here to review Manos Returns. Yes, that's right. There is a sequel. It's on Amazon Prime at this moment. We're going to be talking about it. Now, for those of you who may not know what I'm talking about, long story short, Manos, The Hands of Fate was a film in the 60s made by Harold P. Warren under a bet. He was a fertilizer salesman, and somebody made a bet with him, like, bet you can't make a horror movie. And I was like, yeah, I can make a horror movie. Any idiot can do that. So he makes one, and it's Manos, The Hands of Fate. Now, it got like a local premiere. I guess it had some sort of distribution, and it was promptly forgotten about until Frank Conniff of Mystery Science Theater 3000, later in the 90s, found it out of a box, apparently, and put it in, and history was made. It's my favorite episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and many people would agree with that. It's a big favorite. And this, of course, caused a ripple effect, where people began to be more curious about what's this Manos thing about. So there's been, like, a documentary. There was a very fun... there was this very fun stage play that was produced, a puppet version, and also a very nice restoration project that went in and kind of cleaned up the movie. Also, the original creators did a sequel. Now, of course, Harold P. Warren and John Reynolds have passed away, but during the filming of this, the surviving members got together and made a sequel. Let's see, mostly headed up by the woman who was the little girl in the movie, Debbie. She's Jackie Naaman Jones. She also, by the way, is the daughter of the master, Tom Naaman. Anyway, she wrote a script with Rachel Jackson and Tanya Atomic. Tanya Atomic is also the director of the film, and she plays one of the brides. They got together with the surviving actors, Tom Naaman, and Diane, Adelson. And they also brought in some new actors for some new characters, because it takes place in the present. Daniel Daggerty as Carla, Christopher Barnes as Jay, Nura Aguilar as Pat, and Christina Pezzo as Nikki. And of course they had to recast Torgo, because you're not doing this without Torgo. Stephen Shields plays the new Torgo. And the film opens with Torgo, actually, as he's about to sort of fondle one of the sleeping brides, and we get to find out what happens when they wake up while he's doing it. And they beat the shit out of him. The film starts to suggest that this is a whole cycle that he is just beaten and tortured by the brides over and over again for decades, apparently, and he cannot really escape, much like the other victims, including the family from the original film. We cut to our new characters in the movie, and it's a group of four friends, a couple and two women, and appropriately enough, it opens with them discussing So Bad It's Good movies. We're actually having characters talk about The Room in the sequel to Manos. It's really great. And we do a little bit of repeats on the first scene in the original film, where they're stopped by cops, they're a little lost. There's a little funny tribute to, like, the driving scene. Of course, this doesn't go on forever, and it's actually well cut. Tanya Atomic is a much more talented director in terms of, like, you know, how to frame a shot, how to frame a shot, how long a scene should go. I mean, granted, Warren was learning as he was going, so I salute to him for that. So anyway, they finally they get lost because I think they're going to California, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, they accidentally get to the house, and they're greeted by Torgo. And what's the first thing a couple of them do? They start riffing on Torgo. It's so great, because this film is very aware, and it's aware of its history of the original film and its history with Mystery Science Theater 3000, So it embraces it at the same time making a film of its own, which I think is 100% the correct way to go with it. Because that's one of the things I thought of, like, what tone could they possibly do with this movie? And they did the exact right choice. I love that scene because they riff a couple of seconds on Torgo until one of them goes, he's disabled. Would you shut up? And they even riff a little bit once they get into the house. That's when we discover something interesting, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this film was the original, of course, was made by a guy who'd never made a movie before, but there is, whether it be intentional or accidental, there's this odd melancholy creepiness about the original film, and this film takes good, strong advantage of that, where we actually see the victims of Manos, where they're brought in by Torgo, they're waved in by Torgo, who is not exactly 100% on board with what they're doing. He's sort of like an unwilling participant in all this. And they sort of like continue to live out their lives in the house under these illusions that they're in really a happy moment and they're living good lives without realizing that they're stuck in this house where their souls are being fed on by Manos. It's a really cool idea, and it's really nicely layered into the story. I won't really get too much deep into how this plot plays out. There's some really nice scenes. One of the characters actually has a moment with Torgo that goes in a completely different direction than what I expected, where we actually get to sympathize with Torgo, and it's really surprisingly heartfelt. I almost felt like tearing up a little bit, like for Torgo, and yes. Stephen Shields makes a really wise decision of not trying to do an impression of John Reynolds as Torgo. I think that was probably the most appropriate decision you could make in that role. I think he does a wonderful job, kind of like actually gaining sympathy for the audience with his performance. I don't know with this character, man. There's a lot of like characters like Torgo in the history of horror, but specifically there's something about this guy that just leaps out at me, and he does a really good job with it. And I want to definitely get to let's see, the original actors. Okay, Debbie and her mom, Maggie, have been stuck in this house for roughly around 50 years. And apparently, Dad is dead. He is gone. And Maggie is basically been in one room combing her hair for 50 years, going insane, having delusions of these men and these male suitors coming to her and being charming, and it's really sad and creepy all at the same time. And with Debbie, Debbie has become evil, and I think that might be my favorite decision of the sequel, is they took the child that was supposed to represent innocence and made her the villain of the sequel. Because essentially the master, as played by Tom Neiman, he is ascending to Manos, and he needs a replacement. So I guess she would be the master or the mistress once that happens. We even see the process of what happens when a bride is made, and that's a creepy scene. And I gotta say, like, Jackie Neiman-Jones, she really goes for it. She is stone cold evil in this movie, and I'm just so happy to see her just go for it. And of course, she was co-writer and the producer, so this was all she was all in on this idea, and I absolutely enjoyed this. This was a wonderful film. I was hoping this would be good on its own, and it sure enough was. And I think that, like I mentioned, they made the wise decision of being thoughtful and not trying to escape its roots, or it didn't go too deep into it. They didn't try to Birdemic this thing. They tried, not Birdemic, Sharknado. They didn't try to Sharknado this by making it so bad it's a good movie on purpose, which I'm sorry doesn't work. They made their own movie, and it actually stands up on its own as their own film, and it's really cool. It does help. It does help seeing the sequel. I think it does help seeing the original because I think that does give some context to it, and I think it makes it more meaningful. Here's the thing. Maybe it's my nostalgia. Maybe it's because I'm a Misty. Maybe it's because I'm a fan of the movie. I modeled my online IP after Manos, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I really did love it. So I'm going to give it probably technically 4 out of 5 Ram chips. If you're a cult movie fan, horror fan of Manos, Misty fan, definitely see it. Right now it's on Amazon Prime. I'm sure it's going to be available in different arenas. If you get the chance, check it out. I do recommend it. Thumbs up, 4 Ram chips, 9 out of 10. Whatever the ratings. I don't care. It's good. Go see it. All right. Hey, did you see Manos Returns? Let me know in the comments below. Are you aware of this Manos thing? Let me know. You can subscribe, click the notification bell. You can support The Real Manos and Manos Publishing at Patreon, because I make comic books and novels and stuff. I do lots of stuff. And don't forget, I am available on the social medias like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All right, I think that's it. So, Manos be praised.